I did go and look. Every tap, when it was still frozen, had frozen sap in it. Yeah, all the frozen sap has run out. Actually, I see some sap around there. I may need to tap that in a little better. It may be leaking around the tap a little. That's the first sap I've seen actually coming out of the trees, so the trees must be starting to run. I don't see anything around this tap, so maybe it's in there enough. I don't know. But I guess either way, we do know that it's working because there's sap in the barrel. Oh, almost walked by one. Yeah, I see a little sap coming out around the tap. I don't know, I might need to get something to tap them in a little bit more. They are tapered, so, you know, to some degree they're tapered, but oh yeah, this one's leaking a lot. Alright, so it's supposed to use like a wooden mallet basically, but I don't really have that. So we'll have to go see what we got and come through and just make sure we got these tapped in enough. Alright, a little overkill. It's either going to cause complete devastation. Yeah, that's probably what's going to happen, but we're going to try it. Wish me luck. Alright, let's see. Nice and easy. I don't know. Definitely sunk in there further. Try another. Careful, Gus. Oh. That could be why they're leaking. For some reason using my drill as a hammer last time didn't work. Alright, we'll do that last one that was leaking real bad. Yeah, it's like it almost bottoms right out. Like it's not bottoms out, but you definitely know when it stops moving.
This wood, this Osage orange, also called hedge apple, also called Bois, is a local wood here. We're very, very familiar with it here. It has an interesting history, and the most part, we use it around here for fence post. However, it is distinctly different from any other wood in North America. As we go along, I'll explain to you some of the unique characteristics that it has. Osage orange is a very, very dense wood. It averages almost 50 pounds a cubic foot. That's about 30% heavier than kiln-dried oak. A 1-inch thickness will weigh over 4 pounds per board foot. You'll notice this saw struggling to do a rip cut through this small piece. This wood is exceptionally hard and strong. Its bending strength is over 20,000 pounds per square inch. That's half again more than red oak. Hardness is around 2,000 pounds, or about 100% more than red oak. Stiffness is 1.8 million pounds per square inch, which is roughly equal to tight grain, kiln-dried red oak. This wood's legacy, as its usefulness to man, dates back to prehistory. Before the 17th century, this wood was used for many, many years by the Native Americans. The properties of it made it the absolute best wood on the entire continent for use in making wooden bows. In fact, its common name, Bois, is from the French for bow wood. It is said that during the 19th century, a well-made Osage orange bow was worth a horse and a blanket. Some of the early uses for it included wheel rims and axle hubs for wagons. It was also used as insulator pins on telephone poles. But two other uses have found their way even into our lifestyles today. One has to do with its decay resistance. There is no wood on the North American continent that is more decay resistant than Osage orange. I can show you a fence built of posts that my father and I put in when I was about 12 years old. That would make it about 55 years old. But it's still standing. Corner posts were 12 inches in diameter. Line posts were between 4 and 6 inches. And I believe every single one of those line posts and those corner posts are still standing today, holding barbed wire. But what spread its availability and its importance, I think, is even more interesting. You see, it was used in the pioneer days as fence rows because it's thorny and because the tree is really brushy. Cows would not walk through it. And if you planted them close enough together, then they would work for a perfect fence. But that's not what spread it far and wide. During the Dust Bowl days, those places where they had placed the fences didn't erode from wind erosion nearly as badly in the dry, dusty conditions of the plains as did other areas. The U.S. Department of Agriculture found this, and they wanted to stop soil erosion, especially because the drought was unrelenting for years. So they went to the WPA, the Worker Projects Administration program, which was during the Great Depression, and they planted millions of these trees along the edges of fences. And in certain areas, they would just put a row of them out there just to break the wind. So, you drive around this area and you'll see miles and miles of fence rows filled with these trees. The tree is not normally cut for lumber. As you can see, it's very hard, very difficult to cut. It requires very, very sharp tools, and they dull quickly. So people who do sawmilling don't really like to cut it. In fact, most people who have much experience with it will tell you that they don't want to get their chainsaw in it either. Because about the time you cut through one 12-inch log, you're sharpening your saw again. It's just very, very hard wood. However, when you harvest a piece and you get it into a decent piece of lumber, it is beautiful. It has this yellow tone that you can see when it comes out. That yellow coloring can be extracted in hot water and is used in dye. Not only did the Native Americans use it for coloring up their buckskin hides and other blankets and things that they had, but during World War I, this dye was the most popular one for the U.S. Army to use in the khaki coloring for their clothing. But getting back to the lumber actually works very, very well. It will take on a hard, smooth shine, as smooth as granite. In fact, you'll see that when I cut this with the crosscut saw, that I get a perfectly smooth surface. In fact, I never had to go below 320 grit. I started with 320 and ended with 400 grit in sanding these pieces. Some of the more widespread uses for this are turnings, small turnings such as making them into pins, accent pieces in musical instruments. Sometimes it's been substituted for ebony in making guitars and other types of instruments out of wood. The yellow color of the wood will eventually fade. Sunlight will turn it into a really beautiful honey brown, sometimes with traces of red in it, like the center of this. So if you want some of this wood, here's my advice. They sell it at the farm stores here. A 6-inch diameter post, 8 foot long, will sell for about twice what you would pay for a piece of treated pine post. And you can pick it up there. It is most likely sold green, most likely sold with the bark on it. You want to debark it before you put it in the ground. That will minimize any insect damage that you get on the outside of it, and will aid in it drying evenly from the outside in.
Chimney, chimney.
Cherry. Each of my 3 grandsons have a hatchet. And they want to cut down trees. They want to be axemen. So about the softest hardwood that we have here is sassafras. And I don't want them cutting the sassafras. Next softest one that I know of is cherry. We have a variety of cherry here called choke cherry. So each one of them has cut down numerous cherry trees in their bid to become the next axeman. This is one of those cherry sticks they cut with their hatchet. You know, I suppose I could have used a lot of different kinds of wood for this handle. I have hickory, oak, elm, ash, mulberry, all kinds of wood. But there's something to be said for taking a sapling that your grandson cut several years ago, been sitting around in the corner, haven't figured out anything to make out of it, and putting it into something that someone else might find useful. So I chose that cherry, and I think you'll find that the color of the wood goes really well with that yellow that's in the Osage orange. I used boiled linseed oil to finish this with for a couple reasons. One of them is that the wood in the head of this hammer is not entirely seasoned yet. But I wanted to have a coating on it so that it wouldn't crack as it dried. But the second reason is that linseed oil is the traditional coating used on wooden tool handles, axes, rakes, spade and forks, pitchforks, things like that. Linseed oil is what they use to protect them with. Would need another coating in another year or two, but it should hold up pretty well. All in all, I think this hammer should serve its purpose. I mean, you got a piece of a fence post on a handle cut down by a Bois axe going to a guy who used a pole axe to pound his taps into his maple tree. I think it probably ought to work just about the way he needs it to. I hope so. Well, I got this all finished up, dried, packaged up, sent it off, and Lee got it. And if you stay tuned to the end, he sent me a little clip of his unboxing. I'm going to put a card up so that you can find his channel, and I'd appreciate it if you'd give him a look-see too.
So we got a package from a fellow YouTuber, Sassafras Valley. Dave, thank you. I don't know what it is yet, but I'm sure it's going to be pretty awesome. So let's see what it is. Oh, that's awesome. I know exactly why you sent this to me. Oh, that's great. How cool is that? Dave, you'll have to fill me in on the types of wood and everything. I'm extremely interested. Dude, this is awesome. This is so cool. That's the type of thing that I'll probably never be able to figure out how to do, but Dave, this is great. I will definitely keep this somewhere safe. It will not stay in my garage. As you can tell, it is not a safe place for things, given the mess, but that is super cool. Man, the finish too. You'll have to fill me in on everything. How you finished it, the types of wood. Man, so for anybody that doesn't know why he sent this to me, in one of my last videos where I was running sap lines, you have to hammer in the taps for the trees, and I used my big ass wooden axe, wood splitting axe with a steel head, driving in plastic taps. You're supposed to use something like this. So anyway, Dave, this is awesome. Thank you very much. I definitely appreciate this. This is great. Anytime somebody will take some time out of their day, time is precious. So when you give up some of your time for somebody else, I can definitely really appreciate that. So I hope you understand how cool this is to me, and I hope I can pay you back someday for it. So thanks again, and hopefully see you soon.
I do appreciate you watching, and you have nothing less than a wonderful day.